Okay, so we didn't get on the
Thank you.
agenda, the communication update, the communications update, but
So I make a motion that we suspend the rules and add, as item one, well, after, in old business. Item one in old business.
well, let's do it right now.
Well, we gotta, well, I guess we can do that first, all right.
Yeah, let's do it first, and then they can go.
So as first on the item is a communications update.
I'll second that.
All in favor of suspending the rules? Okay, then we have to put it on the agenda?
Now it's gonna be on the agenda, it's already there, yeah.
The
So,
motion included that.
okay, all right, so, communication update.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Steve, trustees. So here, we want to make it quick today, to be respectful of your time, especially since we suspended the rules for this first. So as you've probably seen in the community, you're not supposed to make assumptions, but I'm assuming probably saw some of the front page ad, if you get the paper, some of the ad stickers, the notes, the social media displays. So the brand is definitely out there, it's getting noticed, and what we call in communications earned media. So not only was there paid advertisements, people are talking about it kind of organically, which is increased traffic on the website, it's increased traffic to Facebook, it's adding following, and what's been unique is I think a lot of businesses are following Auburn Water District page. So I think we're off to a good start. Things to mention before I open to questions, like you can see the words chosen by the Sun Journal to be a campaign. As you've directed, it's not a campaign. This is about a comprehensive communication strategy to talk about what the trustees in the Auburn Water District do to ensure clean and affordable water. So that's our focus, that's what we're continuing to focus on. That's why you don't see necessarily response to certain things online or whatever, because there's really no value in that. But we do have an uptick on the inbound email signups. So think inquiries that have come in, some have been great. Questions like, how do you become an Auburn Water trustee? Specific questions about water standards, so those have been routed appropriately to the right people, and we'll continue to do that. And then lastly, through that process, through looking at the website, as part of that update that we intended to help polish the website, we're doing probably a more comprehensive redo. So as part of the initial allocation, as you know, 5,000 of the 10,000 allocated was a working budget. So that's how the ads for Sun Journal get paid for. And out of that, we were able to do a whole brand new website build without asking for more money or an additional allocation. So when we're done, you'll have an up-to-date website that's going to help you facilitate that communication with people. Emails, email lists, posting in social media, posting minutes, videos, and that nature. So, yeah. Any questions, concerns?
The information you're providing to the public, what is your source of sources?
Yeah, so I think it's multiple sources, being very particular in what we put out there. We don't want to engage in any type of arguments, whatever. So as you can see, for instance, one of them was an email to you as trustees. If you got any issues or something you want to say, you can certainly hit us up on that email, and we can help make sure that language is polished, made succinctly to put out there. And just through pretty much echoing what Auburn Water does, right? You guys are committed to clean, affordable water for the community, ensuring that we take care of Lake Auburn and the ratepayers and things of that nature. So right now, it's really letting people know, what is Auburn Water District? Like, people assume that it's part of the city of Auburn. Nobody knows what a quasi-governmental organization is. So right now, we're kind of in a get noticed kind of phase. People are starting to engage or signing up for emails or asking questions, which we call social listening. So we're actually kind of seeing what are they concerned about, And I'll tell you, a lot of people think it's about swimming in the lake. Or another popular response is residents of Lewiston, believe it or not, who received a letter from the city of Lewiston where the city of Lewiston expressed concerns that some actions taken by the city of Auburn may or may not increase rates, right? So right now, that's what we're receiving. We're receiving a lot of inbound questions and then reacting to that.
Have you talked to any Auburn Water District personnel, like our superintendent, about the last rate, when it was, and that? Did you reference? Where did you reference the information for the rate? On the website, you said there was. no rate increase in the foreseeable, in the near future. That was the two words that
Yeah.
you used,
Yeah.
near future.
Yep.
Where did you get that information from?
Right, that's from your past meeting, the actions you've taken. So it's generally speaking, like, so the totality of decisions you made for bonding and budget allocation and things of that nature, based on the prudent discussions and actions taken by the Auburn Water District trustees, based on those actions, in the foreseeable future, there shouldn't be a rate increase. As opposed to what Lewiston put out, was that there is an impending rate increase that is gonna be beyond anything's ever seen before. So that's the juxtaposition, is that there is, in the foreseeable future, no known rate increase, as opposed to what was put out in Lewiston, that there is one coming, and it's gonna be considerable, and it's gonna bankrupt people.
Yeah, have you needed to provide any questions to any worker or employee in Auburn Water District to provide the information to the public that you provided, to the
Yep.
customers and public?
Yeah, so we parsed all the inbound emails that came in. Some of those were routed to Steve. Mike has received some inquiries. Some of them are very scientific based. People who in their professions have a lot of great insight that is overly detailed. So as we receive those questions, we route them to the appropriate person. Some of these are just businessy type questions where people are trying to engage the Auburn Water District in the conduction of business. So those get routed appropriately. Some are very specific water questions. And some of them are questions like, hey, how do you become an Auburn Water District trustee? Which is a great question. So we give that to Steve so they can let him know, say, if you're interested in serving, this would be the process. So yes, yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions?
Well, I have one request, actually. It's my understanding that you were doing a video with staff here.
So Kelly engaged Mike, he had to do some videos on the TikTok, social media.
TikTok.
Yeah, so,
Instagram,
do
Facebook.
yeah, do you know what the #1 most visited website in the world was last year? For the first time ever, it was TikTok. Google was
I've heard
second.
great things about that. I haven't gotten close to that, but.
Yeah, so
About TikTok.
Is that comment, is that the originator in comments, China? TikTok?
as a platform?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
sure.
basically, yeah,
I
well,
believe it does, yeah.
Right.
yeah, that's right.
Well, any videos I'd like to see first before, I think the board should see a video.
Good
I
point.
can understand answering a question, that kind of thing, but I'm a little uneasy that you folks are maybe answering questions or doing something.
No, this would have been Mike responding to questions on video and explaining questions, not a communications person speaking on behalf of the Auburn Water District, but an actual employee with knowledge speaking to the point.
It's a different medium versus, it's the same type of communication, it's just a different medium, but we will go through Steve, which has been the process, and then he can take it from there
Well, I
at this
understand with
point.
most things, that's fine, but I'm thinking if we're producing a video that's gonna be out there for a long time.
We'll make sure that the.
But the
we'll make
graphics
sure
are out
that-
there, there's really no difference in dissemination of where that information goes. So it's just a way to reach more people in a different capacity, in a different medium. But I think the process of going through Steve is sort of what we had come
I'll
up with,
make
and
sure
then he
that
can go from
if-
there.
Before
to-
anything goes out video-wise,
Well,
we'll
maybe
make
it
sure
could be
that.
sent as an email to.
Yeah, to the trustees.
Email to
Yep.
the trustees.
Yep.
I would agree with that, and we could have quick feedback or not, give us a deadline. for
Yeah, feedback is great, but I think that's been working so far. We might make,
I know that you didn't want to do by committee, but, developing a video, stuff like that's a little bit more than just answering a question or a page on the website.
but the video itself is just answering a question. It's not highly produced, it's informal, it's conversational, and it's
Well,
meant to
maybe we
be.
see the questions, maybe if we don't see the video, we don't see it.
I'm happy for you to see the video, though. I'm just saying, it's not a commercial or something like that. It's not,
I don't
it's
want staff
15
to be
seconds.
involved in anything political here.
What you said.
It's absolutely cut and dry. We have a technical staff here that does a great job, and they
Great
use
staff.
great water, and the sewer business is handled by the same folks. They've done a great job that way. But when it comes to the politics side of things, we found that even the best engineered study is being questioned.
It's not-
So we can't have anything that's anywhere near remotely political in a video that we're gonna use as.
No, that's not. All right, there's nothing that we've done. So the Sun Journal uses those words like campaign. There's nothing that we've
Well, I
done.
think some questions can be It's still a matter of opinion.
But to get to your point, it will go through Steve, so you would have an
I'll make sure
opportunity.
you see it in the.
Through that
fill it
way.
out.
And the last question is, you guys' contract is up 28. So what do you foresee? I mean, are you gonna be able to leave us with a working package and then we'll be all set? What do you foresee it happening after the 28?
What do you refer
Well,
to?
your current contract's up
Yep.
at the 28, so we paid 10,000.
Yeah.
And is that it?
So you paid, we had $10,000 allocated, 5,000 was the working budget.
Right.
Where
5,000
it
was
didn't go in
communication
people's
line.
pockets, it went to ads and website builds and design, it went
Right, I
to
understand
actual
that.
stuff. So beyond that, you'll have a working website.
Okay.
You have more or less, for lack of a better term, a brand, and you have the beginnings of channels and mediums to communicate with the public. So
And then
from
an action plan of how we would continue that on? We have that?
Yeah, we can do, I mean, it depends on what your scope is. So it's kind of a broad question, is what are you asking for? I mean, what level of detail, for how long, what topics, talking points?
I think you're wondering like, okay, now who's going to answer?
Well, once
Answer
you
these
guys are
questions,
done,
correct.
now we've got to make sure that we're following up and continuing this.
Mhm.
And so I want the action plan, know who's going to be doing what when it comes to those sort of things, and the continual updates, and that kind of thing. Keeps everything going.
Right, is it back to Tanya, you were fielding those questions, right, from Facebook?
Anything that comes in on the website, we forward along appropriately. Facebook is monitored by the three of us, and we get answers accordingly.
Right.
You know, if it's a treatment question, we have Chris chime in.
Okay. I'm just, do you anticipate any further needs? Are we going to be asked for any more fees?
Andy's our treasurer, by the way.
Right.
Bob is very critical of our bills, so
Yeah, I think
we support his questions.
Yeah, there's definitely an opportunity to do ongoing work if you wanted to. We're not here to sell, but if you want to talk about what would an ongoing relationship look like. I mean, I don't think the issue of Lake Auburn, clean water, and what you do is going away anytime soon.
No, I'm hoping that we can have something that we can use.
Right.
So I don't want something that's so professional and so hard professionally managed that we can't manage it ourselves. We need to have a professional organization handle it, because that puts us in a spot where we're continually paying bills all the way down to forever, because we've set ourselves up for a system that can't be managed by staff.
No, everything that is being used is publicly available. It's like your personal Facebook page. It really would come down to duties and assigned by supervisors. I mean,
Okay.
you could theoretically do it all yourself if you had the knowledge.
That's what I mean. If we have the knowledge on staff to continue.
'Cause I saw on the website, you set up some kind of a fillable box, you wanted some information.
The mailing list, email mailing list.
What, I don't know who's seen that or who manages that or where it's going, is that something you're anticipating our staff taking over, or is that, I don't know what that is, or who you've heard from, or where that goes, or what you're looking for.
Yeah, it's not unlike your current contact us forms that come in, so it's in parallel to that. It wouldn't be any different, just a different subject heading topic, if you will. But
So where has that information gone now? How many people have filled out that form?
right.
10, 100, 1,000? Do you have any?
We went through them one by one. Do you remember the number, Kelly?
We were up to 32, I think. I didn't look today or honestly since Friday, so that number could have changed, certainly since then. In terms of how it will be managed, yeah, it's in tandem with other forms and things that you have on your website, so that could certainly be, built back in. It's not built out, but it could be pulled back into the staff. The website update will actually make it much easier for almost anyone to update pieces of the website that quote unquote belong to them, so that from that capacity, it really should be less time intensive for people to be able to do those kinds of things.
After the 28th, on the website with the email list, when you're encouraging customers and the public to ask you questions for you to respond, have you planned some kind of wording to refer the questions to the district, or to Tanya, or to Sid, or to both of them? What's going to happen after the 28th, when people are no longer going to be able to get questions who are on the mailing list, quote-unquote mailing list, will no longer be able to get answers from you. How are you gonna approach that? How are you gonna deal with that to get the people to say, we are something like, thank you for your participation, we are not taking any more questions. Please refer to, for all past public all our past public questions and answers, as yours may be similar, and staff will always take questions, comments, and suggestions from customers and the public. Is there something like that
No.
that you're planning on? And
So-
I anticipate this need.
Yeah. You're
Because
reading,
all of a sudden, you're not gonna be answering anymore, and it's gonna go dark on them. They
Right.
need to have a channel to continue on. Well, that's my take on it.
yeah, because I noticed you're reading from prepared statements.
I wrote that down today because I was looking at the website, all the information about Love Lake Auburn. And this is one of the things that jumped out at me.
Right.
Someone else is gonna need to be answering these questions, and I believe it needs to be addressed.
Yeah, do you mind if I take this?
Sure.
So I actually just came out of a meeting where Mike and I were preparing for his, some of his video work that we're gonna do tomorrow. And Tanya and Sid attended as well, and I think that across the board, there's a commitment to answering questions. So the good news is that we didn't do this as like Matt and Kelly's campaign. This was a water district campaign, so the public only sees it as such. So there would be no need for a statement, because as my experience has been, the water district is very committed to always providing those answers for people. So those questions and answers are on your website, on the AWSD website, so they exist there. We don't have them, we're not taking them with us, and we don't own them. So there's no need for a statement saying that we're giving it back or anything like that, because it should be very seamless, and people should, and it's my understanding that the water district employees really do want to continue to get questions, and they have processes for inquiries already. Like, we've just kind of plunked ourselves into it and benefited from it. So I would say that there's no need for a statement of any kind. It really
As long as
shouldn't.
they can be seamless and they can carry it over, I'm fine with it. As long as-
Present-
Seamless meaning that
We can
it will be
handle it.
taken over by someone or someone.
They will continue answering questions as they have been. That's been an ongoing thing where they have always answered questions, I think, very, very capably.
So hasn't answered my question, is specifically, who's gonna be responding to the public questions and customer questions on the mailing list? Is somebody here gonna be doing it?
Yeah, that's.
Because people,
Some
you've asked them for
leadership question.
feedback, and that some probably aren't going to, and there's gonna be some new people on there. And like he said, or you said, this needs to be something seamless. We can't all of a sudden have the public hanging. Someone needs to be doing that, dealing with the people on the mailing list.
So the questions are they're just coming in from Facebook and the website.
Primarily the website, I mean, we're using the same mechanism where people are already emailing you on the contact us.
So it's the same
Right.
thing, right? Tanya, that you, yeah, you're still gonna
We
get,
do
you'll
have
still
a-
get those
we have a
questions, and
form.
you'll have a question that you
That-
can't answer, and you'll say, hey,
Yeah,
And those,
Mike,
and
you take
those-
care of this?
I assume it's gonna just be
That's-
directed to the email address. We have an info@AWSD.
Okay, good, I just don't like the word assume. I mean,
It goes to Sid, myself,
And I
and
don't
Ryan.
think it's like
it's,
hundreds of questions
and
coming in a
the
day.
entries are all
No,
housed in the
box,
same
no.
place, in the same ownership place on the website. There's no, and they can go to Tanya, whoever that info@email address gets those emails, but they're not separate. Now, what does exist is that you still have the same team. There's no communications member on that team. So yeah, we can give this away, but that's, there's not gonna be someone who's responding to media inquiries and stuff like that else. Do you see what I'm saying? So there is a giving away, but yeah.
thank you. That was a concern of mine, this needs to be as seamless to someone, and it's gonna happen. Good.
Excellent.
Great.
Thank you, folks.
Can we,
Okay.
can
No,
we ask
we're-
questions too?
We'll have an open session, and you can, we have other business that we gotta take care of.
So we can't ask them questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we're on to our regular meeting. First item, approve the minutes.
I make a motion we approve the minutes of regular meeting of May 18th, 2022.
Do we have a second?
Second?
All in favor? Okay. We've got the minutes for June 1st, number 2.
I move that we approve the minutes of the special meeting of June 1, 2022.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
I have to abstain, I think, Eric as well, because we were
Yeah.
absent.
Right.
Okay. So that's fine, we got 4 or 2 abstains.
We had the quorum there.
We had a quorum, right?
Mm.
So June 7th,
I move they approve the special minutes, approve the minutes of the special meeting of June 7, 2022.
I'll second that motion.
all in favor? 2 abstains. Okay, financial report, Tanya. You want to sit up here or?
There's one.
Yeah, we got empty chairs now.
Revenues are favorable to budgets. Gallons sold are up slightly year-to-date. Jobbing line is a little elevated there. That's due to deposits that have been collected in materials that are back on back order. There is a $125,000 variance in expenses with payroll leading that. Payroll will level out as capital work continues. However, the variances on the other lines will continue to rise due to the high inflation. Details on the low-income assistance program for water and sewer are rolling out next month from Maine State Housing Authority. We will notify customers who qualify for that program as soon as the information is available. Maine received $5 million for that program, and it's going to be doled out on a first-come, first-served basis. And it is due to end at the end of next year. So we're going to get on that and hopefully clean up some payment plans.
Good.
Yes, yes.
One
So,
question I had was on the cash on hand.
yeah.
Was that because we had the bonds come in?
Yeah, so we added 1 million to cash this year, and you can see on our balance sheet, we added 1 million to CDs.
So that's, just gotta keep that in mind that it's there, it's not just found money, that it's got a purpose.
It does, that's for capital, yeah.
For capital.
Capital this year.
So
Yep.
we're really down.
Pipe in the ground.
When we're looking at, whatever's going on, you got, what's going on with gross salaries?
It's a timing thing. We, had a lot of overtime this winter for starters,
Yeah.
and we started capital work late this year due to the frost in the ground. It will, I believe that will level out.
I think we'll have to start seeing it, so it will, at the end, be okay.
Yeah, yeah, I think it may still be elevated. We did have a tremendous amount of overtime this winter, but.
Quick question, I know the metered income is up 3.5%.
Yeah.
And I don't know the exact correlation, but our water use is up 5%. The city of Lewiston's water use is down 5%. Is there any way we could find out why Lewiston is down 5%?
They haven't flushed their hydrants in 2 years.
Yeah.
Geez, Dan, you're right, that's a lot for
No,
those.
it's happening
Flush
every
every
2
hydrant
months, it's
system.
another percent. Is that legal
So
for
they're
them
trying
to
to
not
save
flush
money
their
by
It's,
not
it's an operational thing. We do it to make sure our hydrants are
That's part of
working
the money
and
that they pay the
keeps the
city.
mains flushed and
The city pays them a ton of money for hydrant
And
maintenance, and they're not doing
do you feel we need to continue to flush ours at the rate that we're flushing as well?
we need to flush all of our hydrants at least once annually.
Okay. Yeah, just, listen, they're trying to change the apportionment, right? They've been doing it. It's a full 5%
Yeah.
over the last year and a half since we've been arguing that they're
I
not
think
paying
it
them
comes-
fair.
I think it comes down to more of a staffing issue. They're down like 5 or 6 people, so they don't have the staff to do it, and they're doing the bare minimum to keep things going.
It seems to me though, that some of the branches that go off, if you don't flush them, you're
You're gonna get a lot of calls.
gonna get a lot of problems when they don't
Complaints,
have fire
yeah.
suppression.
Right.
Water.
Yeah.
It'll come down to water quality too.
Yeah, it's not as much fire suppression, that's a volume thing, it's a water quality thing,
Oh, it is.
more than fire flow volume.
Thank you.
Water quality in the house Okay, so they don't flush them enough, they start getting sediment and
Yeah,
stuff.
you can get water quality complaints, you know.
Wow.
Who gets blamed for that? You know?
Well,
We'll let them handle that.
Yeah, I know.
All right, we're also looking to implement a purchasing policy. There have been a couple of recent purchases that are not handled in district, the way that the district typically does business. So we are hoping that a purchasing policy will help keep us transparent.
the procurement policy.
Yeah.
Have you prepared anything, or will you have something?
Hopefully, I'd like to implement this as soon as possible. I'm working with districts of the same size
Okay.
to pull some stuff together. We'll run it by our auditors.
One of the things that's a loophole with the procurement policies, somewhat of a loophole, is that we can generally use vendors that are already approved, or already
Established.
established or pooled.
Yep, with a
municipal,
justification.
kind
That's
of
a
thing like that. So you
municipal.
can just choose that one without going to bid, because they're already the chosen
Absolutely.
one. And I don't know if we're gonna do a procurement policy, I'd like to look at that, because I just thought somehow if you go with this one vendor that's, well, they've already, some form of bought
established.
something, so we're gonna go on back, piggyback with them and
Mhm.
that kind of thing without looking for anything else.
Mhm.
I just remember Avcog, Bill, and Portland Council of Government contracts they set up aren't always the best thing, even though there's more municipalities doing it, so.
Mhm.
I wanna have something in there that said that we couldn't necessarily automatically go with somebody that's in a pool somewhere,
Yeah.
just because they're in that pool,
Yeah,
so.
yep. We definitely want some justification
Okay.
options.
When we have this ready for us to look at.
Hopefully have some type of draft and look for input next month.
Terrific. We've been-
Okay. Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay, gonna ratify payment of bills, Bob?
Thank you, I move that we ratify the payment of bills.
Okay. Second, does anybody have a second? Okay. All in favor? Okay. Mike, activity and project report?
All right, I'll try to keep this brief. Our activity report, we did have one small leak on Field Ave, and we've been dealing with some ongoing leaks. Our Taylor Pond, our seasonal mains are on Taylor Pond, are going to need some attention, so we're kind of making some provisions in that later in our construction season. But both the leaks were minor. Some paving projects going on. The one thing it's not spelled out in this activity report, but I did want to bring up, back when they were paving Garfield Road, something that we do, all of our gate valves that are within the public right-of-way, we have to raise those up as they bring the grade of the road up. So there's tops there that we have to adjust. Well, we got into an interesting predicament where we had ordered, 100 8-box tops at the beginning of the season, and they had not come in yet. It had been months, and nobody in the state had any, and we couldn't get any. So we did wind up scrounging up the materials we borrowed from here and there, and we got the materials we need to do the job. But I'm seeing that more and more. There's been a couple of residential and commercial developments going on, and where we provide the materials that we're going to wind up owning, so they have to purchase those through us, so we make sure they use our hydrants, they use our gates, they use our materials, and we're running into, as I'm ordering parts for these jobs, I'm hearing sometimes lead times that don't work. We can't get 5-foot hydrants for up to a year. They're not going to have any until next year. And I'm just bringing this up because that gets complicated when a 5-foot hydrant in our system, let's just say we have to replace it next week and we can't get any. And this becomes an interesting problem.
So what do you do, end up capping it?
Well, I haven't run into that yet. We do have quite an inventory of, as we replace hydrants, we don't just throw everything away. We save and scrounge parts and pieces off hydrants that we've taken out. So just today we had to move 2 hydrants as part of the Route 4 reconstruction. We had to move the hydrants back further within the right-of-way of the road to accommodate new drainage and stuff. And in an application like that, normally I would just replace them instead of moving this 60-year-old hydrant back. Let's put a new one there. So we're reusing them, and they're still working. There's nothing wrong with them. They're not going to be under a paved surface. They're out of the they're out of the road. So but I do have to dig that in a couple of years to replace it. So we're just keeping things like that in mind, knowing that parts aren't readily available.
Yeah.
So again, I'm just bringing this up as an FYI, as part of the activity report. Excuse me, project updates. Things have been going pretty well. I think I reported last month that we were done with the water main replacement on 3rd Street. After the meeting, we did pick up all of our temporary mains and all our feeds, so all of our work on 3rd Street is done. We have also, since the last meeting, replaced the water main on Grove Street, and we have all of our temporary lines installed on Vernon, and they're going to be replacing the water main there. After Vernon, we're going to be over on Burns. After Burns, we're going to be on Willow. So we have a good progression of work we're now racking up our replacement numbers. And we're working on the plan to make sure we hit our goal by the end of summer. So I think we're in a pretty good shape for that, and we're going to continue to watch that. But certainly, maybe by the next meeting, we really need to look at, the cost of things is elevated from what it has been in the past, and to make sure our budget will support the continuation of work. I just want to make sure we keep you in the loop on that process. So a couple other things. And Sid, stop me if I'm jumping out of order, because I did this at the sewer meeting last night. I'm just going to go through my list. But
Keep going.
we had in our equipment budget this year to replace some pumps and electrical components up at our Brentwood booster station. So a lot of people don't know this, but we have a little booster station, actually not far from where Jason Paulino lives. We pump water to about 13 houses because they're so high in elevation. When it was designed, they designed this little pump skid. Well, whole skid is about 25 to 30 years old, and last year we noticed some issues. We had to replace one of the pumps, so we budgeted this year to do the other pump and the VFDs, which is the controls for the pumps.
Can we get Jason to pay a little bit more water?
Well, he's actually not served by this. He looks across the street. Across the street from him, they are served by the pumps, but he is not. Anyways, normally we would come to you to get approval to move ahead with that, but last month the pumps, one of the VFDs died, and it put us in we have to do this now, so we ordered them. So it's just kind of an FYI. It was budgeted, and we are falling under our budget. We're not going over that, but I just wanted to let you know that we did move forward that, and we used the, we had the failure. We had like 5 call-ins over a weekend because it kept tripping out. So we are moving ahead with that. Last thing, probably just to keep you in the loop, there's a lot of development proposals going on out there. I'm sure you've all seen the one up the hill here at 555 Court Street. There's been a lot of other proposed projects. I am working very closely with city staff to review those and provide feedback and comments. Recently, just yesterday, I received an inquiry about extending our water main out South Main Street towards the interstate. There's actually there's one developer that's reached out right now, but apparently there's a lot of others that if the water main gets extended out there, like all these other ones, would want to tie in and grab onto that. I have a few concerns over our ability to serve that. South Main Street is fairly high in elevation, particularly when you get around Vickery. So the higher you go up in elevation, the less water pressure you're going to have at that particular location. The water main stops at a certain point because you're at 30 pounds of pressure.
Where does it stop right now?
If you go just past Ipswich a little bit,
Okay.
you know where Ipswich is? So it's about, there's a hydrant on the left-hand side going out of town. That's where the water main is. So they want to run that out past Vickery, down over the hill, kind of near where the old golf course was. Another thing that we need to look at is, the one developer would like to put an 8-inch pipe in. Talking with some of the city staff, well, they know of another developer that wants to put in X amount of houses, and then another one that might want more. So, where they're paying for the extension is, should we, import? Well, we don't want an 8-inch pipe. We want a 12-inch pipe because there's all these other people that want to potentially connect to this as well. So, again, working with Phil Kroll on that, and some other city staff on how do we size that and address the pressure issues. I'm just bringing it up as an FYI, as far as there's a lot of different projects out there, moving parts, and we're working through them to make sure we can.
They'll need a pump too.
That's something that's going to have to be evaluated. I don't know. They might not. There's not much. It depends on the elevation change from where we end to the top of the hill there by Vickery.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's that
it doesn't seem like much, but for every 2.5 feet you go up, you lose a pound of pressure. So if you go up 10 feet, even if it's over 1,000 feet, you don't realize you just came up 10 feet, you just lost that much pressure. And is there enough pressure to even serve them? That's something we need to have reviewed.
We used to have that Ipswich tank out there, that used to be a tank for
Oh,
service.
that's right.
That's not in operation anymore?
We might have to evaluate, I mean, if there's enough development out there, maybe we need to fire the tank back up.
So that modeling program that we did a few years back?
That's something we're consulting for this. We just, the city has agreed, we haven't signed it just yet, but they've actually agreed to pay to have that model reviewed to run this all through there. To say how much water would you get out of an 8-inch pipe, are you gonna need pumps, and how much water would you need to get out of it? Well, how much you could get with different sizes, so. It's, again, just an FYI at this point, but there's a lot going on out there.
Mike, if there was a potential for a pump station, in order to pump the water to get it to the customers, would the customers be responsible for that, the construction of the station and maintenance of the station?
It's a very good question, and it's something we are working on, and we've been looking at the PUC regulations on that, and if it's gonna serve more than 2 customers, we have to manage it, because, well, if it's gonna be no, if it's future customers, if they're gonna have multiple meters and they're multiple owners, we're gonna have to figure out who's gonna own it, because it becomes complicated.
Then we wouldn't have to build it.
We wouldn't have to pay to build it, but we may have to maintain it
Right.
and take over ownership
I'm sure
of it.
that probably is.
So we're gonna follow all PUC rules and make sure our attorneys review that, and we'll have to look at it. I don't know if pumps are gonna be needed yet or not, just in that particular case.
The other one you mentioned at the beginning, the 587 Fourth Street,
555,
top of Goff Hill, 5 buildings going in there, apartment buildings.
In the first phase,
I was driving by there a couple days ago and I see this big dump body truck, the ones you see on big construction sites, like they're building highways or whatever, with the open, rumbling southbound out of there. Is there any chance that our water tank at the top of Goff Hill integrity could be jeopardized by this construction equipment constantly moving, or they're not gonna do any blasting, right?
Oh, they've done blasting.
They've done blasting, but
They've done
is there any of the construction of those buildings, underground, above ground, is there any chance of threatening the integrity of our tank at the top of Goff Hill? I realize I'm putting you on a spot, but it was a
That's a
question
pretty
that's
good
been burning
spot,
in my
yeah,
mind
no.
for a couple of days.
As with any blasting, they follow a protocol. They have seismic meters that they put in there. There's restrictions and policies in place throughout the city. You just can't blast at epic proportions.
Wow.
You have to blast responsibly so that it isolates the blast and attacks the ledge where you're working. And they're following all policies within the city and their excavation permit. So I haven't seen any issues yet. If somebody doesn't follow the rule and they overblast, anything's possible, But I haven't seen anything there that has concerned me, with our tank in that location, other than that one is gonna need pumps, and we're working with them on how that's gonna occur.
And I know you periodically, the water district staff, they empty the tank, the tank at the top of the Goff Hill, periodically empty it, and you go inside and you check it all out, you make sure clean it all out.
We're due to clean it this summer. We're gonna be in there this summer.
Good, thank you.
That's all I have.
Okay, now we got to public comment. This is a business meeting, right? So it's got to be a pertinent, public comment. Somebody has something?
I got a couple of questions on the,
It's a comment, so you have a comment and we can listen to it, but it's not a give and take back and forth.
well, my comment then is, you had an emergency meeting on June 7th to hire a PR firm, and I wonder why you couldn't have waited 2 weeks until you had a regular meeting and the public was advised of it. And then I retired from the Sun Journal, so I know for a fact that it takes 2 weeks minimum to get a sticker on the newspaper, because for 15 years, I ran the sticker program at the newspaper. And Love Lake Auburn appeared 5 days after this firm was hired, or 6 days after this firm was hired. So I'm wondering how that happened. So I guess I wonder how, as a ratepayer, I live in on Merrick Carroll Street, by the way. My name is Bruce Ryu. As a ratepayer, how funds are expended for a PR firm for what I don't really even understand the reasoning for the firm, and then this PR firm seems to already have spent ratepayer money before it's even been hired by the Auburn Water District. So there's a lot of confusing things about this PR company, and I wanted to ask the principals, but wasn't able to do that. So just wondering.
Okay, I'm Priscilla Miller, and I live at 211 Summer Street, and I want to know how much, take that $10,000 and let every ratepayer know what their share of it is, because I'm going to deduct mine from my bill. You have no reason under the sun to need a PR firm. If anybody has questions, they should call you directly, not get it from Matt or Kathy or Kelly or whatever her name is, okay? That's first of all. And if you want to let the ratepayers know something, facts, put it on a piece of paper and send it to them. You don't need to spend $10,000 to inform the people.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're gonna move on, old business. Dan, review the bylaws of Protect the Lake Auburn.
So Jason Pauline is not here today, but just an update on that. We've received stakeholder comments now early on from the Auburn Water District and Lewiston Water Division staff. We received them from the City of Lewiston. We received them from the Watershed Protection Commission. We received them from Mr. Rio, actually, was at one of our meetings. And Bruce is a former president of the Auburn Water District, and he's been a trustee forever. How many years?
22.
So he had some really good comments that we're processing. And just recently, and I know Sid had shared this, City of Auburn has some really good comments. And I really like the City of Auburn comments because they're more oriented to Auburn ratepayers and of course taxpayers as well. So we're going to process those, and on the 8th, the backup date is the 9th of July. We're going to have one more meeting to process the stakeholder comments so we can bring that forward to the trustees for deliberating. So I'm not sure if that's going to be a special meeting or if you want to take a half hour, the next regular meeting. But I can discuss that with you, Steve, later.
So the 8th is a committee meeting.
Yep, just a polar committee
What
meeting.
time?
We haven't figured it out yet. We'll probably do it at the airport again, unless you guys can get us into the UV plan. We can have a nice view of the lake. I don't know if that protocol allows you to do that now, but we'll figure that out, and it'll be probably late evening or late afternoon, so people that have normal jobs can also attend after their jobs. So we'll just put tentative time 6 p.m. on the 8th.
So I'm not gonna be around that week. I'm gonna go to Florida, kind of a quick emergency thing. But I was wondering, what are you gonna do with that information?
So Jim is still actively involved in updating
Jim Ross.
the document, so there'll be a different color of the newer updates from the stakeholders, and we'll set those out to the trustees as well. So you'll have them at least 2 weeks in advance of your next meeting. So you guys can say, hey, I like this, I don't really like this, and then we can take that time at the next meeting, or if we decide it's going to be a special meeting, then
So we can kind of homogenize it down.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pages.
right.
City of Lewiston had it.
Well, I think it's really good to be able to see the original document, to see the first set of changes, the second set of changes, and then now with stakeholder comments, the third set of changes.
So all stakeholder comments are going to be included in the draft
Yeah.
bylaws?
Well, no, because we've included those. I think you've gotten most of them, except the City of Auburn. Sid, haven't you passed out the stakeholder comments to the trustees?
I think you and Jason, yes, I sent him to this whole group as CC, but they were sent to
Yeah.
you, so yeah, you should
Yeah.
have all of the
Yeah.
comments that were received.
And yeah, so you, just the city of Auburn ones to update on. Yeah, that's it, yeah.
So in July's meeting, we should have a,
Yeah, and if we don't have a quorum because I'm scheduled to go to training in a different aircraft in Denver, and I have to look at the training schedule, but the simulator schedule always changes. Or we could always do that in the August meeting. I mean, there's no burning need, right, to
Right.
update the bylaws.
we
It's supposed to be done every 5 years. We're in 3 years in process, and then we have to relook at it in another 5 years. So, you know, so if it takes an extra 2 months, you know, I don't think there's a single
It
trustee
hasn't been
here
done
that-
in how long?
30?
never
Yeah.
been done,
Right.
since its inception, I don't
Yeah. Yeah. That's it for that.
And it's true, summer is a busy time for people, they're doing a lot more things than they are October, November through April.
Yeah.
And so we need to allow for that.
So you're gonna have a draft in the next packet, you think, or?
Yeah, the next packet for next month. So at least we'll have the information out there in the new draft. And whether or not you want to take the 30 minutes or 40 minutes to talk about it, it could go an hour, right? If you ask for 30, it could end up an hour.
Right. Well, we'll figure out what your schedule is too.
Yeah.
We gotta determine.
Or Jason can handle that too. He'll be definitely here next month.
I'd like both of you guys to be there, because
Yeah.
you've both been involved in the process, and
Yep.
you might be able to answer something Jason can't, and that sort of thing. All right, thank you. Goff Street property?
Yep, 21 South Goff Street, just an update on that. Since the last time we met, we had originally given them until the end of May to move out. That time came and went. I have been working with our attorney to continue to find some way to have them move out of that building. We came up with a plan that I think is pretty good. I had Jim Pross draft up an agreement for possession of premises, which I hand-delivered to them. And in this agreement, they've agreed to vacate the premises by July 11th. Concurrent with that, I had them sign a 30-day notice of termination of tenancy. So, and they do fully plan to be out of that building by July 11th. I've been in close contact with them, and they are in the process.
So they found a place.
Yes, they did find a place to go, at least temporarily. You know, I don't know what they're gonna do once that runs out, but they have agreed to at least leave that facility. If they are not out for some reason by July 11th, there is this 30-day notice of termination of tenancy, and it immediately goes into effect, and then it goes for, the attorney for process, essentially. But I think,
After the 30 days?
what's that?
When that's after the 30 days?
Well, the 30 days started basically on the day, 27th of May, is when they officially got this 30-day
Oh, okay.
notice. So by July 11, if they're not
Yeah,
out,
right.
they're not gonna have to wait another 30
Right.
days. This will immediately take effect, and it'll go to litigation. But they clearly don't want that to happen. They've actually been very, very good. They've been cooperative. It's hard to find a place
Yeah, yeah.
for you to live. But I think we have a plan here that will work, so
Good.
just wanted to update you on that.
And you were flexible in the plan with them, which is good. It was something that worked for them and worked for us as
Right,
well.
Right, we have continued, that we will not be charging them rent, and so we can further assist them to vacate the property. But it's a good plan, and, you know, that's July 11, that's just around the corner, so it's gonna come very quickly, so.
Thank you. So you want to go ahead on to the salary survey?
Yep, just a quick update on that. We have been working with HR Main Consulting, as you know, to update our job descriptions and our pay grid. Right now, they have done they've given us a draft, they've reviewed our job descriptions. We need to internally find a time to sit down and go over those, give them back, and then they can start the pay grid portion of their study, but that's,
When they gonna have that ready?
well, I think it kind of depends upon us. She's a one-man band, she's kind of taking it as we get her information. She wants to get the job descriptions finalized through us. I guess she's sort of waiting for us, and probably me in particular, to get those job descriptions reviewed. But as soon as that's done, they can move forward with the second phase. I don't have a timeline for it, but I don't think it'll be drawn out too long.
Excellent, thank you. All right, now we've got the new business. We're gonna have 2 executive sessions that could be pretty long, just to let folks know. So we're gonna move to the first one.
Excuse me, would it be possible to do the Lake Auburn watershed protection before it, so that we don't have to hang around?
We just went over the bylaws and protection.
No, you got 2 reports down here after your executive sessions, so that we don't have to stand outside.
Could we do these and then do that at the end, or?
No, we're gonna go, we'll go ahead with our regular meeting. We're just gonna continue on with our regular meeting.
We just got to-
Really accommodating, aren't you?
So we're gonna move to, can we move to executive session? Somebody wanna have a motion to move to executive session?
I move that we move to executive session in accordance with 1 MSRA 405 6E to discuss a legal matter.
Second that.
All in favor?
We're out of executive
Declare
session.
us out of executive session?
And, I would like to make a motion that we approve the increase in our legal budget from $30,000 to $70,000 in light of recent litigation.
I'll second that.
Anybody have any comments? All in favor? That's unanimous.
Now it's on the record.
Good.
Approved that we know this for.
So now we've got another executive session that we need to go into to discuss a personnel matter. Can we get a personnel matter, MRSA, section 405 6A? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second?
Okay, all in favor? Okay. And that's gonna be just the trustees.
401,492.
Okay, that declares out of executive session.
492.
Water quality updates in?
Oh, yep.
And I'm rushing because it's.
No, that's fine, nope,
20 minutes to
I'll
6.
rush too. You can see from the packet, the lake's actually in good shape, and water quality has improved over the last month. You remember last month, our second readings weren't all that great, but the clarity has been increasing about 1 meter a month, so we're kind of up to historical standards again in terms of lake clarity. It's good, almost down to 10 meters of visibility, so that's a
Excellent.
good thing. Turbidity holding steady, and we're beginning to sample our reservoirs again. So that's kind of the short story there. Lake's looking good.
Real quick, if you have to leave, I can finish the agenda.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I got 15 minutes.
One thing that I wanted to bring up is that in the latest news for Kennybunk, Augusta, water supply is having problems with PFAS. And so I inquired, I think you'll pass it around yet.
No, it's
I inquired with us, we are at no detectable levels of PFAS in our water based on current testing. So we're good. The only thing that I guess we're concerned about is if they already changed the level, but we don't have the capability, the technology to test our water to that level.
the EPA limit they put into is 500 times more sensitive
Than this
than the
current
state's
method.
recommendation.
Wow.
You can't even test to that level.
You can't
That's-
test to that level, yeah.
It's not that we can't test it, nobody can.
Nobody, right. So when you hear people that ask about our water, we are a non-detectable for PFAS, right, based on current technology. But it could change, but I wouldn't mention that if they want.
Okay,
Because the sample was.
good. So is that good? Are you good, Andy?
Yep.
Okay, so now we're going to the law pack report on proceedings.
Yeah, I just wanted, and you've seen this in your packet, I just wanted to give you a synopsis of all the correspondences that have gone back and forth with the commission regarding the lawsuit. I'm not gonna dwell on any of them, I just wanted you to have them for your record. Those are the correspondences that have gone back and forth. There's the minutes of the meeting on April 13th and May 2nd. I just passed out a copy of the CDM contract. I guess the big news is here that the commission has hired CDM Smith to take another look at the Grace Lawn pit and look back at all the reports. And there were 3 or 4 different reports they've done over the years, going way back to E.C. Jordan in the early 90s. They're going to peruse through that data and make a recommendation back to the commission on whether or not they think there is a concern about taking that pit out of the watershed boundary.
Okay.
So they were supposed to be submitting that back to them by the 17th, but we still do not have that report.
So they're just looking at existing reports, they're not doing any additional
Correct.
testing?
Correct, yep, they're looking at old data and seeing if they can
Interpret something.
glean anything from it and make a recommendation.
Good.
Excellent.
That's good. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else on that, Sid?
Nope, and again, you can go through this, but it's all the correspondences that have gone back and forth that you guys should be aware of.
Okay, thank you very much.
For my list.
Thank you, Sam.
Okay. Report from the Law Pack Appointment Committee.
Yeah, just one application, the reappointment of Camille Parrish. And if that's confirmed, right?
Yep.
So I would just like to make a motion right now to reappoint for the next 3-year term.
3 years.
Camille Parrish as the Watershed Protection Commission
Okay.
Commissioner.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Just want to make sure that we have gone through the process. that
Yeah,
everything- In the time that we went
That's
through.
the only
timing,
application we
That was
got.
the only application we got,
Yep.
so we're gonna go with it, okay?
Yep.
I'm phone call.
All in favor? Okay,
And who can call her or email
I will.
her? Okay, thank you, Sid.
Yep.
great, thank you. All right, excellent, thank you, Dan. Consideration for groundwater utilization, Sid?
Yes, you'll see in your packet,
Yeah.
it was brought up at the last trustee meeting to review the issue of the potential of using groundwater as a substitute or supplemental water source to the lake. Back in 2015, we did go through an extensive study with Weston and Sampson engineers. And if you had a chance to read this memo that I wrote, I sent it to everyone last week, so you have a chance prior to it going out in the packet. But, this issue has been looked at quite extensively. I don't know if you had a chance to read it or have any questions or comments. Again, it's a 3-page thing. I'm not going to read down through it unless there are specific questions on
Sid,
it.
your information was very comprehensive. Yeah, I don't think you could have missed anything.
They don't throw any questions or comments, but we did exhaustively look at it, and since this report came out, there are some additional considerations too. Back in 2015, no one knew what PFAS was. But it is a big concern for establishing new groundwater wells, because if you're gonna find PFAS, it's not gonna be in Lake Auburn, it's gonna be in groundwater as a result of any contamination that does.
Ground application.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so that's something that's come up since that study was done, that is another issue. And since that report was done, there's a big thing that, the legislature is looking at groundwater rights. Who has the right to draw water? I know that some of the big boys like Nestle Water is, looking at those types of issues. And there's a lot of political buzz around who has the ability to draw groundwater, who has the right to the water that's in the ground. If you're taking it from far away, are you impacting their rights? So that's another political thing surrounding the establishment of groundwater wells. I don't know if there's any other comments or questions about this report, but it's my recommendation, the same as it was back in 2015.
Should we do something on a future agenda item for alternate sources of water continue? Because, this brings light to, we're still stuck with the current unwavered system that we could lose, and a filtration arrangement with partners that are not really willing to pay their fair share. So just something down the road, we just can't let this go.
Well, I think there's something we always have to be looking at, whether we spend money on a study or not, but I think it should always be on the radar. I don't know if it's even feasible.
Do you have?
That was the reason why we did
Yeah.
the study. We were hoping to find something like that, you know.
If somebody would, let's do this, if somebody would like, if you want it on an agenda item, I'm fine with putting it on any agenda at any time. So if anybody comes up with an idea, doing some research, comes up.
Because I know the POLA committee is winding down, and I know Jason Paulina has the same concerns that we
I'm
formed
more
another
than-
committee, another meeting.
I think that would be
Okay.
fantastic,
Good.
yeah, so.
That way there, it doesn't bog down the
Yep.
street.
Yeah, I think that's a
When we get
fantastic
answers.
idea, because I do think if we don't have a disaster recovery thing, I think it's, so, yeah.
Dan, do you personally have any idea of any alternate sources of water?
I mean, like getting it from Sebago?
Yeah.
Buying it
Well,
from
I know,
them?
I mean, you've been thinking about this a lot.
Like Poland Spring? Like, where are easements, power line easements? What other water sources that have groundwater that's acceptable? There's good groundwater everywhere in Maine. We have to find it. What we found at Lake Auburn near our intake is not acceptable. That's all I'm saying.
And then, like you said, you get the groundwater rights. Who's got groundwater rights into how much?
Well, this could play into.
That's okay, I just,
This could be playing into an idea for emergencies. What if something happened to Lake Auburn?
That's what right, so I think we do need to have it, and let's do it as let's do it as at another meeting. I think we should, and I think we just had a lot of stuff on our plate right now. But I would love to, I think that's a valid undertaking. So I'm gonna move on now to trustee open session. Okay, I'm gonna close it, and then need a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second, all in favor? Okay, thank you.
When's the next meeting?
Next meeting is
July
July
19th.
20th.
48.
19th.